continuing on with our accidental, maybe on purpose, series of ancient explorers.
Ancient travel show.
Whose travel log are we looking at today? I thought we'd talk about Marco Polo, the great man.
The great swimming pool game man.
Yep. Some sailors, perhaps, call it blind man's bluff. Others, Marco Polo.
If they're playing, what do they call out in blind man's bluff?
Hey! Over here.
Okay.
It's just a couple of cheeky sailors in waist-deep water going, come here, you.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I looked up the game Marco Polo before this, and they think the association with the name is because you're on a journey, just seemingly nowhere and aimlessly. You know, like Marco.
What?
Yeah. So it's just pretty funny.
That's a long stretch.
It's a big stretch, but I'm like, thank you, Google AI.
It's you played in a pool.
Yeah.
Marco Polo was not like a famed mariner or anything. Like
No.
I'm pretty sure he went overland in his big journey.
All bar one section of it, yeah. But yeah, just the wandering around, you know, like it's someone wandering around aimlessly, which is a bit rough because I don't know if he does that. You know, the year's 1252, Genghis Khan, he's done his thing. He's passed away.
Raping, pillaging.
Yep. Successfully.
Yes.
This is the key point. And so he's been succeeded by his son Kublai Khan. Anyway, so I believe they're the largest empire in the world at this point. Basically bridging China to, you know, the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the story starts in 1252. Marco Polo was born in Venice to a wealthy merchant family. His father, Niccolo Polo, and his uncle, Maffio.
That's a great name.
It's so good. Maffio. They'd been in the Mongolian Empire for quite a few years. So I think it was a bit of a... it was you know, they're wealthy merchants, and so they're wealthy because they've gone to and from Mongolia.
Wasn't Marco Polo's dad, wasn't he away in, doing whatever in the east? Yeah. And he came back when Marco Polo was like 12, and he's like, hey son, you want to come on a journey one day? Like,
yeah, I think it was something like, oh man, my wife's dead. I've got a son. What do you say, big fella? Want to come in with the boys for a bit?
Yeah.
We're going to go meet the literal emperor of the world.
Yeah.
Except for not the Pope, the other one. So yeah, his father, you know, he's Marco Polo. His mother died sometime, you know, when his father was away, and you know, Marco's sort of grown up in the Venetian Republic, and he's sort of hanging out, doing a bit of sailing, a bit of trading, all that sort of thing. And then his dad and uncle get back, and they're like, hey son, let's go. So Niccolo Polo and Maffio Polo were tasked by Kublai Khan to return back to the Christendom of Europe to grab some holy oils and a bunch of Christian scholars and bring them back. And
so Marco Polo is often seen as like the first European to travel east, and but in the very sort of first paragraph of the story, that's just not true at all, because his dad went there.
Yeah.
And Kublai sent him back to get more stuff.
Yeah. So maybe the historiologists have had a hand in that one.
Yeah. That's some serious historiology.
Serious historiology. So the three boys set out, and they arrive at Acre in 1271. Marco Polo, aged 17. They sailed from Venice to Acre, a key crusade port in modern-day Israel, or Palestine. And you know, this is when they've sort of stopped off and, you know, on their way. You know, they've grabbed their provisions. They've secured their letter from Pope Gregory X, and you know, they did promise hundreds of scholars were going to come back with them. They were given to Dominican friars.
Yeah.
But they were like, you know what? Kublai Khan, he'll be okay with this.
So they've been tasked with the Kublai Khan
Yep.
to go back and get all these scholars and all these different things from the West.
Yeah.
Because I guess he was like, because maybe they didn't know too much about, or he didn't know too much about what was going on over there. And so Nicolo's come to the Pope
Yep.
and gone, this is a chance to get a big conversion here. And then the Pope's gone, yeah, we'll give you 2 monks and I'll write you a letter to say, join Christianity.
Doesn't it end up being a really confusing letter that's translated a couple of different ways? So it's just sort of gets to the Great Khan as like who is aware and knows what Christianity is, but because there's obviously Christians in his empire, but because the note was so badly translated backwards and forwards, he's looked at it and gone, what the hell? Like, you must submit to Christ. But anyway, they've stopped off in Jerusalem. They've grabbed their little holy oil, Before entering Persia, which is modern-day Iran, which being a critical segment of the Silk Road, was fraught with political and environmental challenges. And the route through the Holy Land took them through regions like Galilee, where Marco noted, hey, there's a lot of Christian and Muslim holy sites along here. There's a lot of noticing on Marco's journey. Entering Persia, they navigated a volatile region under the Mongol, I can't even pronounce it, Ilkhanate.
That's some good historyology.
And yeah, because there was a lot of tensions with the Mongolians and the Mamluks at the time, as they would be with anyone who wasn't super stoked with the Mongols sort of like popping in and making horse noises and noises. Gotcha. It's that Parthian shot. The Persian deserts posed quite, several challenges: scorching heat, scarce water, and the risk of bandits. Marco's description of Persia highlights its wealth in silk, turquoise, and horses, but also a bit of a shithole. But they have some cool stuff, generally speaking. It's like,
didn't he nearly get robbed on the way, or that a fracas, a scuffle with some bandits, and
like, get out of here.
And he used his wits to escape the situation.
Do you know the story?
No.
Well, what an adventure that would have been.
What a story that would have been to tell.
In this region as well, the ability for the Polos to travel, they had I'm not going to be pronouncing it correct, it's like a Pisa. Anyway, it's a letter of, it's permission from the Khan to be like, yeah, you can be here.
Yeah, so like a passport, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. And so you can imagine, like, every single time, you're going along and it's like, oh, crap, Mongolians on the horizon or whatever, and then they're just there instantly. It's just like, play it cool. You got the best paper? It's like, oh, where is it?
They've got, like, this tattered, because they've got it in and out of their bags so many times, it's, like, falling to pieces.
Just, and yeah, so you'd imagine you'd be holding onto that piece of paper for dear life. At this point, really, like, you can imagine as well, because they'd be well-travelled trade routes, so they'd sort of be like a well sort of walked goat path almost,
But they're not necessarily trade routes where it's one person doing the whole journey. It's like, maybe someone will, go from like China to, Afghanistan and then trade whatever, and then it's sort of,
and then
the stepping stone kind of thing moves along. The goods move all the way along.
Yeah.
But not necessarily people.
So modern day commerce. So at this point, the triumphant trio cross into Central Asia in the Pamir Mountains. So they traverse harsh landscapes of modern-day Afghanistan. So already you think, like, that's a fair whack already from, the armpit of Italy,
To the armpit of Afghanistan.
And the Pamir Mountains, which Marco described as the highest place in the world. From Persia, the Polos likely followed the southern Silk Road route through the cities like Balkha, and then once a centre of Buddhist learning, but now, and kindly says, recovering from Mongol conquest.
Recovering from?
Yeah, I'm picturing like 10 people just wandering, dazed and confused in a burnt paddock.
The Mongols.
Those Tartars. Was it, I might know this. There's the Pope and like the Mediterranean or European Christendom, they had this delusional sort of assumption, or was this rumor that there was like a Christian force on the other side of Islam.
Yeah,
I think that was like Prester John or something.
Yeah, there was this myth that there was this massive Christian empire or kingdom, hugely wealthy and all that sort of stuff, led by Prester John.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, I have no idea where this
I think it's Cope. I think it's Cope, honestly.
Yeah, I think they just sort of assumed that they'd go up and meet up with him, and then Prester John would sort of come from the east, and the Crusaders would come from the west and sort of squash the Muslims. But
the Crusades have already started at this point. So, even they mentioned like stopping off in the Crusader port in Achaia, or Acre. I don't know. Like, had Constantinople fallen yet? Was it like
it had been maybe a generation or two before Marco Polo. It had been sacked by the Crusaders.
Yeah, in the fourth one, I think.
By the Venetians.
Marco's accounts mention the region's fierce winds and desolate plains where nomadic tribes herded livestock. It was during this leg of the journey that the Dominican priests that they had acquired from Pope Gregory X abandoned the Polos because they were like, there's too much perceived danger, which...
So they get 3/4 of the way.
Yeah.
It's a big journey. Italy to Afghanistan, and then they're just like, nah, it's too dangerous now.
How funny is that? Because it's like, okay, but now you'd be safer sticking with the boys. And then the two friars are like, nah.
We'll hitch a ride back.
Yeah, we'll just jump a caravan or something. So the ascent into the Pamirs, a knot of mountains connecting modern Tajikistan, Afghanistan and China, was grueling. Altitudes exceeding 15,000 feet brought thin air, freezing temperatures and sparse vegetation. Marco noted the scarcity of birds due to the latitude and a keen observation of the environment. The Polos relied on yak caravans and local guides, likely Waki or Kursk tribesmen, to cross the plain. I don't know.
Wacky tribesmen.
Wacky tribesmen. Those wacky tribesmen in the Kursk gazots.
Like they just get up to wacky.
They're like, whoa, what am I going to do next? Whoa, that guy's crazy. They're all crazy. Wacky. This leg of the journey lasted months, and he's just hanging out with nomadic horse people, and it's this little note of like, and horse-based economies fascinated him. Through to the Taklamakan Desert and the Gobi Fringe, the Polos descended into the Tarim Basin, skirting the Taklamakan Desert, one of the most inhospitable regions of the Silk Road, before approaching the Mongol Empire's western frontier. The Taklamakan the Taklamakan term means go in and you won't come out. Was a bit of a like, should we do this? And obviously Dad and the uncle are like, yeah, no, it's fine. We're gonna go see old Kublai. He's a sick guy. So this is where they encountered Uyghur merchants and Buddhist monasteries. Marco's later writings describe the desert's mirages and the eerie sound of shifting sands, which locals attributed to spirits. Which, when I was reading that, I was thinking, that's a bit, reminds me of June. I like that. I even put this little bit here in red. It was like, shifting desert sands, also known as singing or booming sands, produce a low frequency booming or rumbling sound, sometimes described as a low moan or hum. And it's sand as it starts cascading down and then there might be like an air gap or something like that. It's just as the sand runs over, it makes a kind of noise.
There you go. Didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think in June there's references to it, and like people who wander out into the desert because they can hear noises or whatever, but it scares them. Get out of here. If you're not a desert person and you're just hanging out in the desert, and then at all times all around you, you can just kind of you're like,
yeah,
spirits definitely. At that point, water scarcity forced careful planning with caravans stopping at wells guarded by local tribes. So I guess that paints a picture of like maybe every half day's journey, you'd have a well set up, and you'd have different caravans or tribes sort of hanging out, and they'd be like almost like signal fires in the desert. You're just bouncing from one sort of thing to the other, and if you walk half a day and you haven't encountered the well, best wander back because
yeah, and you can imagine, you know, there's like the local guides or something that are, it's like, yeah, I know the coming, I know the good spot, and you know, they've got all these deals with the tribes and things like that.
And you know, it's probably the same in Australia as well, but a lot of American Wild West kind of fiction that I've read, there's the stories like, you know, the going from California back through Arizona into Texas and New Mexico, and all of that is just wells, stopping off wells, you know, because and then on the way to the next well, there's just bleached bones. So everything's just like there's no illusion what we're doing at the moment. It's just like, oh crap,
we've got to get to the next well.
We've got to get to the next one. I hope it's not dried up. But after 3 years of travel, the Polos reached Kublai Khan's summer place in Chengdu in about 1275, completing a journey of roughly 7,000 miles across diverse terrains and cultures, I suppose, as well. But I think that might be it for you today. And
so we'll leave it there. That's part one of a multi-part series.
Well, varying detail and accuracy.
And we'll be back shortly for part two.
Now,